So I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Sahr Kpundeh is a governance and anti-corruption advisor in the World Bank's Africa region. Prior to this appointment, he was a senior public sector specialist in the same region of the bank. And Sahr has written extensively on governance and anti-corruption issues. Many of you are probably familiar with his 2004 publication, Building State Capacity in Africa. And Sahr received his PhD from Howard University. I think he brings a sort of unique perspective to this panel because he is on the front lines at the moment of trying to get beneficiary feedback on the World Bank's implementation status reports, performance reports. So we'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Brad. It's always hard to follow the chief economist. So I was hoping that we were going to go through that sequence. So, what I want to do is to talk about an initiative that we're piloting in the Africa region that we're calling the External Implementation Status Results. But let me provide a little bit of context so you can see where what we're trying to do here. Within the bank, we have the implementation status and results reports, which are reports that task team leaders do twice a year that provides information on the status of implementation of projects. These were all internal documents prior to the access to information policy, the new policy in the bank. So following this new policy, there was a decision made that part of that report should be made public now. And that part that's made public is one that basically talks about the performance of the projects. How they are doing component by component, level of disbursements, and so on and so forth. The section that's not public is where the task team leaders flag issues for management attention. You know, for example, if I'm a task team leader, I say the reason this project is not doing well is because the minister is interfering. I mean, that's the part that's internal to the bank, because you flag in those for management to guide you in how to handle those. So basically, the vice president of the Africa region has been keen on trying to get, not so much cross-check the veracity of some of these reports from task team leaders. When you look at the ISRs, if a task team leader for a water project basically writes there, this component is doing well, this project is providing water and is benefiting 80% of the population in this part of town, And the question she asked is that what the people believe? You want to be able to get credible information from people. So we're struggling with how do you find these credible people? So we have piloted this in a number of projects the past couple of years. Last fiscal year, we did it in about 30 projects. Because sometimes, the difficulties of getting civil society that really understands this project to help collect this feedback has been challenging. So it's become very difficult for us to have sort of the one-size-fits-all method that one can apply in different countries. But there are a number of questions that I'm going to put out here and try to talk about. The first one basically is how do we solicit information from individuals on specific projects in question? What is the credible way to do this? So that when you get this information, these are coming from people who are knowledgeable about the project. Second, if we need actionable information on project performance, how does one get that? Because you don't want a situation where the information that's been provided is not getting back to the right people, the whole feedback loop. The third aspect is we are experimenting with a number of ways to collect this information. We've tried, in some countries, they've used, focus groups. But I must state that because we work with civil society and the enormous variations in countries in terms of the competence of civil society and capacity issues, one has to grapple with. So the question is whether focus groups is the best way to do this. We've tried surveys in some countries. We've also had, some key civil society organizations and some non-state actors actually join bank missions when the discussions are going on. There are some challenges there, in some cases, because where you have some of the government people inside the room discussing the projects, the civil society guys didn't feel quite comfortable in voicing their criticisms. Issues of conflicts of interest, also has been an issue we are dealing with, because if we are paying the so-called third-party beneficiaries, if you will, to provide feedback on projects, is that credible? But the point here is these are all attempts to try to get information from the project beneficiaries, who are the true owners of these projects, on how the project is doing. So basically what I'm doing here is to try to get some discussions on some of these things we're struggling with, because this is something we would like to scale up in the region, get these real feedback, but you want to make sure it's credible. We don't have the answers to that yet, so I'll be more than happy to get as much feedback on how we can do this in a credible way. I'll stop here.